Welcome, ladies, and welcome to this edition of the Sunday Wire. I'm Patrick Henningsen, your host. We're streaming out live on X, Rumble, YouTube, Facebook Live, also streaming out on BitChute, as well as on the audio streams after the program, and of course, 21stcenturywire.com and alternatecurrentradio.com. So thank you for joining us. Look, we're doing something a little bit different this week. We had some logistical issues with the studio, and I just happened to be up in northern Arizona, absolutely gorgeous up here by Mount Humphreys. It's the highest elevation in the state of Arizona, not far from the Grand Canyon. And I decided to go out for basically a hike. So we won't be able to connect with our teammates from ACR. One of them is completely predisposed. The other one is also having travel issues getting to the studio where they would normally broadcast. So I decided just to take it outdoors. So we're going to do a little walk and talk here. Obviously, I'm surrounded in a beautiful environment with aspen pines, and so there's a lot going on in the world. Maybe we get a different perspective by being out here, and we'll spend some time with you out here for a little bit. So the environment might change a little bit. It's very windy. It's also a little bit hot as well, so hopefully that will probably cool off a little bit. And also the sun. I'll be in and out of the shade, so you'll see a different sort of environment here. We're going to talk about the issues of the day because there's so much to cover. So this is how we're gonna do it. Anyway, this is episode 587 of this weekly Omnibus News Analysis TV radio program. Again, I'm your host, Patrick Henningsen. I don't have any lower thirds, but we're working on it. We're working on be able to do a live mix, to be able to walk with a monitor, also so I can interact with the chat during this. We're not going to be able to do it on this occasion, unfortunately, but it's something we're working on. And the reason we're able to do some of this slightly different productions is just because of the support that we've received from our listeners and from the people at 21st Century Wire, Sunday Wire, our audience, Winter Fundraising Drive. So we've upgraded some of our equipment, both video and audio. So we're able to kind of start using that. And I got a few, I'll have an announcement, so maybe towards the end of this. We might take a break for overdrive, or we might just go straight into, just straight through. So we kind of like an extended monologue segment. But suffice to say, there's no shortage of stuff to talk about. But, as you can see, this is absolutely stunning. So I will go, it depends how long we talk. We might be going off-road a little bit more. I'm on a trail at the moment, and I think we're about 6,000 feet above sea level, so that 6,500. So the air, if we go a little higher, maybe 6,500, but the air is a little bit thinner up here, so you do get tired easier. But we'll see some people as well passing us on this trail. It's quite a popular trail. But anyway, let's get to the task at hand. Let's talk about what's going on in the world. Firstly, big news this week. I think it's big news. Many agree, but the resignation of Joe Kent. Joe Kent was head of the Counterterrorism Center under the Trump administration. Fairly high-ranking individual, and he has broken ranks. And so his resignation comes this week, and hugely embarrassing because he said that there was clearly no imminent threat. But that was the whole justification the Trump administration gave for launching a preemptive war, a war of choice against Iran with Israel. They claimed they had intelligence that there was an imminent threat or an imminent nuclear threat, even worse. So where's the evidence for this? Well, according to Joe Kent, in his resignation letter, there is no evidence. They just made it up. And what's worse, and what is actually more damning about this whistleblower, is that he's basically saying that the Israelis, and this is what I said a year ago, when Tulsi Gabbard was being confirmed as the DNI, Director of National Intelligence. I said on multiple programs, have to go fish out the clips, but I couldn't understand why they would put somebody with this supposed anti-war background in the Trump administration that was looking very hawkish from the onset. And Gabbard, nobody goes into politics from DNI. It's like you're not going to have a run for president coming out of the DNI. For a lot of these cabinet positions are graveyards for people who got political ambitions. But anyway, Tulsi is Tulsi, and so she was being confirmed in the Senate, and I thought, this is dangerous because they clearly have either co-opted her or she is basically shifted gears and is now sort of a feature of the war machine. That was my feelings a year ago. And then the opportunity came up for her to air an intelligence assessment, whether Iran had a nuclear weapon or whether developing a nuclear weapon. And, to her credit, her office and the intelligence community's assessment from the US said that no, Iran is not developing a nuclear weapon. And that's the right thing because that's consistent with other past US intelligence assessments. So anyway, what happened after that? Well, Donald Trump was asked point blank because he was preparing the war against Iran a year ago. And he said, they asked the president on Air Force One and a couple of other occasions, but they said, well, your own intelligence community has assessed that Iran is not developing a nuclear weapon. What say you, Mr. President? He says, I don't care what she said. So at that moment, if you had any integrity, Tulsi Gabbard would have resigned, because clearly that's the president making an end run around the intelligence community, around evidence, around Congress, preparing for a unilateral war against Iran. And that's the one the neocons have wanted for years. That's the one Lindsey Graham has been salivating and having conniption fits, orgasmic practically, with the idea of bombing Iran. Is John McCain's life work finally coming manifest for, these crazed, mad lunatics like Lindsey Graham in Washington. And so why did Tulsi Gabbard, she didn't say anything. She just kept her head down, took it on the chin, and basically she was given her marching orders from Trump, from the Israel lobby, which is that you're not going to say anything. And thank you very much. We're in charge and we'll tell you when we need you. And this happened twice. This also happened later on that spring into the summer. And instead, what they sent Tulsi on a fishing expedition in Georgia. Stephen Miller or whoever sent her on a fishing expedition in Georgia to look for, 2020 election dirt. I mean, talk about down market. Anyway, that whole drama with Tulsi Gabbard is just unbelievable. So, she really kind of sunk in terms of, how a lot of people held her in what, now hold her in very low esteem, obviously, because she's just basically been absorbed by this cabal, this Trump Israeli lobby cabal. So anyway, that's her as Director of National Intelligence. And I said that there was a risk that she's been put in there. They've basically captured the anti-war movement. She was the sort of highest profile person in the U.S. in the sort of anti-war movement. I call her the titular head, for at least for a few years anyway, until October 7th, 2023. She was the titular head of the U.S. anti-war movement. So by co-opting her, sidelining her, absorbing her into the war machine, that's a massive achievement for the radicals, for the Israeli lobby, for the Miriam Adelsons of the world, for the Benjamin Netanyahus of the world. Sideline one of the top most sort of high-profile opposition people to undeclared wars, regime change wars, all that. We heard all the tropes. I mean, I'm calling them tropes at this point, but I'll be nice, I'll call them platitudes. But we believed it because she seemed genuine. Anyway, fast forward to 2025. And the danger is that her she will allow Israel to stovepipe garbage intelligence, fake intelligence, made up half-baked intelligence, rumors dressed up as intelligence, and allow that to land on the president's desk. And then she can sort of, she's just there as a type of a gatekeeper of sorts, rather than intervening and saying, hold on, the intelligence that the Israelis are feeding here behind my office's back to the president, it doesn't actually match up with our own US intelligence assessments. Now, if you're head of the department, that's the sort of position you should take if your concern was to prevent World War III, as an example, or to go to war on bad intelligence, that's the whole point, because isn't that what the US did with Iraq and with these other undeclared wars of aggression? So anyway, that's the idea behind it. So that was my fear. And guess what? A year later, Joe Kent resigns, and what does he say? And I was like, I couldn't believe what I was hearing, because it was pretty much what I had feared a year ago, when it just appeared Tulsi Gabbard was being used as a type of, I don't know, a type of pawn on this sort of Washington chessboard. And Joe Kent, who is a decorated U.S. military veteran, he's done everything special forces wise. He's also been special ops for the CIA. So he's kind of seen it all, 11 combat deployments. I mean, knows a lot and can say a lot. And I would say from that point of view has credibility. So he says, after he's been, after he's, extricated himself from the Trump administration, he said that actually, yes, the Israelis are marching in here and they're putting stuff in front of the president and his advisors, claiming it's unofficial intel, and that Iran's going to have a nuclear bomb in 2 weeks, or whatever. They have enough enriched uranium, and they potentially could have a bomb, and etc. Again, this flies in the face of all the U.S. official intelligence. So Israel is then dictating war policy with the president, with this current president, who is absolutely captured, owned and operated by the Israeli lobby, works for a foreign government. Donald Trump does not have an independent foreign policy. The U.S. foreign policy is micromanaged by a foreign country through a foreign lobby operating on U.S. soil without having to register as being foreign agents when clearly they are. And what's crazy about Joe Kent's resignation, and what makes it really interesting, we're going to come into civilization a little bit here to cross through an old army barracks. But what's crazy about Joe Kent is that he also said there's another aspect to this. Not only are Israeli operatives given the velvet rope VIP treatment in the White House to come in and spew whatever the nonsense they're putting into the president's head, but at the same time, they're injecting fake intelligence about Iran, for instance, is synchronized with the exact same talking points that are being given to other sort of, you could say, Israeli operatives working within the US media, like Mark Levine at Fox, who, besides being one of the most annoying broadcasters, just in terms of the physiological effect that his voice would have on people's ears and parasympathetic nervous system, generally annoying. But besides that, you've got Sean Hannity, and you've got these other sort of operatives out there, and then you've got the Wall Street Journal op-ed section. And so it's incredible. And so he has basically outlined this reality. And so this is coordinated. This isn't just like, this is full spectrum foreign operation, influence operation, that has access to the President of the United States and can steer the US military directly into an undeclared war of aggression that will lead to World War III, which is currently what's happening now. I mean, if you just put that on paper 10 years ago or 20 years ago, people would say that's a bit far-fetched, that's a bit far-flung, not going to happen now. Well, it might happen in the future, but don't worry, we have checks in place to prevent these sort of things. Do we? The current administration, there are no checks in place. So that's the incredible thing about the Joe Kent story. So, and then the House or the Senate, I think the Senate, had their Committee on Global Threats, had their hearing where they had Tulsi and John Ratcliffe, the CIA director, who I'll get to him in a minute, and Kash Patel. Anyway, I had them all lined up to give their testimony to the Senate Committee on Global Terror Threats. So obviously the Iran situation is front and center. And they asked Tulsi Gabbard point blank, where's the imminent threat? Exactly what I told you at the beginning of this program. They pushed her on, they challenged her on, and she basically dodged the question. She evaded the question. They said, there's no imminent threat, and the president said there was. There wasn't. Who did you? What do you say about this? And then she said, well, it's not our job to judge an imminent threat. That's solely the job of the President of the United States. But it is her job. If it's not her job to inform the president, to be very crystal clear that there is no imminent threat, and to be assertive on that point, what's the point of having a so-called IC, an intelligence community? I mean, besides having a gravy train of work for people that, quite frankly, are just putting window dressing around the next and wonderful war effort by the US military machine. What's the point of having an IC? It's really not. What is it? Just something to obfuscate intelligence? What's the point of it? So she looked really bad. Tulsi looked terrible. It was cringeworthy. It was embarrassing. She's running away from, I think this Ossoff, the senator from, Chris Ossoff, I believe his name was, senator from Georgia, young senator. That was, that was a sort of choice clip. There were others doing more or less the same thing. So she had to run rear guard action 3 or 4 times during that hearing. So it's embarrassing. I mean, I fully would expect that she would resign after this debacle. That would probably be the right thing to do, and she may very well do that. Her credibility is hemorrhaging. Her base, if there's anything left of her base, I doubt it. She lost half of them by jumping on the Trump train. She lost probably another 25% of her base by after October 7th, going full-blown neocon on Fox News and pushing all this Sunni versus Shiite sectarian divisive rhetoric that the US does, that they did in Iraq and so forth. And basically a loyal Zionist. That's what Tulsi became after 2023. And it's my understanding that she saw that as her ticket into the next White House administration in 2024. And that's exactly what happened. That's what we said at the time. That's what happened. So we've been right about tracking her and some of these other trends over the last couple of years. Not that it's difficult. Basic playbook in politics and also in terms of foreign policy, faking WMD claims. And I mean, show me a major war where there wasn't a fake WMD claim or some various and sundry fake claims. This is the real currency that drives U.S. war policy. And along comes Trump, and who's he appoint for Secretary of Defense but a Fox News weekend host, believe it or not. It's not as if there's qualified people. I mean, thousands of qualified people in the U.S. military and defense ranks over the years, competent, qualified, who don't have a checkered personal record like Pete Hegseth does. But anyway, you thought, wow, no experience, doesn't have any qualifications for the job. Personal life is a disaster. He's clearly emotionally unhinged, has issues. And so why would you pick that person to be in charge of the most powerful military in the world? Well, they did. And he proceeded to go in and rebrand the Department of Defense as the Department of War. We're going to unshackle our war fighters and get rid of the stupid rules of engagement and etc. And the result of that is the United States adopts Israeli rules of engagement, which are maximum human suffering, targeting densely populated civilian areas with very powerful munitions. That's basically an Israeli model for rules of engagement. No Geneva Conventions, no international law, no genocide convention. All that's out the window. And Pete Hegseth calls this unchaining our warfighters. Warfighters used to be called soldiers, now they're called warfighters. The Department of Defense used to be called the Department of Defense, now it's called the Department of War. Do you see a trend coming here, folks? And maximum lethality. So it's all about offense. So literally you have now administration that went out, started a war with Israel, faked the intelligence to take the United States to war. And well, Israel provided fake intelligence, and they're so weak in Washington that they always defer to the superior knowledge of the Israelis when it comes to anything intelligence. Just like the United States officials will often, and bureaucrats, bend over backwards to accommodate the British because they hear the accent and they just get weak at the knees. And this is how people like Christopher Steele were allowed to roam around the State Department and push this dodgy dossier a couple of years ago that created the whole Russiagate hoax. So what a disaster U.S. politics has become. And a lot of it's because of foreign meddling in the U.S. system, not Russian meddling. There is no Russian meddling in the U.S. system. There's a lot of Israeli meddling and bribery and influence peddling and blackmail, as we saw with Bill Clinton, with the Monica Lewinsky scandal that was revealed later. And Benjamin Netanyahu had all these sex texts between Bill Clinton and Lewinsky, and they were using it to, let's say, encourage Bill Clinton to release the Israeli spy Jonathan Pollard. That was in the late 90s, early 2000s. And then the Jeffrey Epstein affair. I mean, do we need to go into detail? I think you guys listening are well familiar with a lot of this stuff. So anyway, it's been quite an amazing week. Look, our job is just to try to explain what's going on and try to keep you guys kind of in the loop as to how things work and kind of cut through a lot of the noise and, you know, point to people who are doing good work and valuable work and people whose work we trust and we cite. And likewise, there's other outlets that trust our work and cite us as well. And that's our ecosystem. And this show's part of that. Weekly Roundup, the Sunday Wire. That's what we do. Well, something else amazing happened. And the Dimona nuclear plant, this is Israel's nuclear facility, They got the designs from the French, and they broke ground actually they started developing their nuclear program in the late 1950s. They didn't miss a beat, I'll tell you right now, the Israelis. But anyway, they managed to get the designs for the plant and facilities from the French. Israel stole the weapons grade material from the United States, the Numek affair in 1965. And then they used the stolen weapons grade material, which they shared, and knowledge, which they shared with the French. So what the Israelis stole from the Americans, they shared with the French. The French gave them basically the plans for the plant, and they did a three-way. So they stole from the U.S., traded with the French. The French got their weapons grade from the Israelis, and which they stole from the U.S. The French weren't meant to have an independent nuclear deterrent. It wasn't supposed to happen, but it happened thanks to the Israelis. Not many people know that. Anyway, Numek, Pennsylvania. Ryan Dawson has done a great documentary film on this topic, which is available on Rumble. Required viewing for anybody that cares. But anyway, Dimona nuclear plant, that was the product of that relationship. And then Israel proceeded to develop nuclear weapons outside of the Atomic Energy Agency's supervision, illegally. And that's incredible, seeing that the whole basis for attacking Iran is because they're alleging that they had nuclear weapons or they're developing them, but yet Israel's in the Middle East and they have anything between 90 and 300 undeclared nuclear warheads. And that's fine for America and the international community. Everyone's scared to call them out on it. They don't even talk about Dimona, because the minute you mention Dimona, many Americans will acknowledge that it's a nuclear research and energy facility in Israel, but nobody will talk about the weapons. And that's the difference. Nobody will talk about the weapons. But now they're going to talk about the weapons. Why is that conversation about to change? I'll tell you why. Because something happened in the wee hours, or in the early evening, or wee hours of last night. An Iranian missile struck Dimona. Now, what damage it did to the facility, it looked like a hypersonic missile. We're looking at I retweeted the footage on my X account. Go to my feed, you'll find it. So, a hypersonic missile hit Dimona. It looked to me, looking at the geo location on that, and then cross-referencing that with the Google maps and other open source imagery from the top, it's very possible that the Iranians were targeting an underground bunker at Dimona. So that's yet to be confirmed. It's going to be very difficult to get a full report on this, because the Israelis are censoring any of the damage they're incurring or hits. They're trying to hide it to stop panic within Israel, and also to make it seem like they're totally unscathed by this war they've started, which they managed to drag the United States into. So, Dimona, that's massive. And, you know, it's so funny that if you look at all the sort of U.S. senators that are losing their rag today, they're all freaking out because 2 intermediate ballistic missiles at Diego Garcia, that's the supposedly unsinkable aircraft the United States operate in the southern Indian Ocean. And Tom Cotton and everybody else saying, look, this is an imminent threat. They're trying to basically rework their argument because they had no evidence before, and they claim that this means that they'll be able to hit the U.S. shores with a missile. You know, so they started the war, and now they're crying because, and they're saying, no, the Iranians lied. They said they didn't have any missiles more than 2,000 range, 2,000 kilometers. Arachi, the foreign minister, lied to us. So Arachi did say that on February 28th, I think, when this war started. So a lot's happened since then. The United States has assassinated Iranian leaders. Israel have killed leaders. The U.S. have bombed and slaughtered children and bombed schools and hospitals. So obviously, if Iran does have longer-range missiles, they're going to sort of show them now. So the Tom Cottons of the world, they're crying, oh no, this is terrible. How dare the Iranians? Do you think if they didn't cry when they hit other bases in the Persian Gulf? So for Iran, Diego Garcia, which they share with the British, which they stole and kicked out the natives and didn't pay them any compensation, one of the biggest scandals ever. But anyway, they're all crying about that. Nobody's talking about Dimona. None of these people in the U.S. It's almost like the Diego Garcia thing has provided a very much needed distraction for the U.S. media and for politicians, because they don't want to bring up the topic that Israel has a secret nuclear weapons arsenal. I mean, it's so obvious that's the main problem here, because if Israel has a secret nuke arsenal, then they're able to blackmail countries. And reports suggest that Israel blackmailed the United States back in June. So Operation Midnight Hammer is another retarded name for it's like these people living in Marvel comic, the Marvel-verse. Operation Midnight Hammer. The U.S. only did that because Israel was getting their asses kicked so hard that they said, look, we're getting absolutely pelted here in Tel Aviv with Iranian missiles. We're going to use a nuke to bring this to a close. Unless you come in and, draw a line under this and bomb the Iranian nuclear power and enrichment facilities, we're going to use a nuke. So that's nuclear blackmail by the Israelis. Many people have testified to this. And of course, the U.S. did that. And you could say the U.S. was doing a good thing because it was keeping the Israelis from using a nuclear weapon, because that would just be terrible. The fact we're even having this conversation is bad. And the fact that the United States has no control over Israel, that Israel can blackmail a superpower like the U.S. And I asked this question too. I said, look, that shows you that politically speaking anyway, more than politically, maybe even strategically, the U.S. is the superpower, materially speaking. The big, massive military, economic superpower. But politically, they're not. They're really not now. I mean, they have no credibility internationally, mainly because of this president. Of course, Biden didn't help. He started the road to ruin in 2020. But the Israeli lobby have full control. They have operational control over the U.S. House, Senate, and the White House, and the media, for the most part. As is testified, well, we could get into that. I mean, we'll talk about the hostile takeover of the mainstream media by Larry Ellison and his son. Folks, you can't even say it's a conspiracy. I mean, it's beyond conspiracy. It's manifest basic fact. That's what this is. So anyway, the U.S. is not a political superpower. If it was, a tiny little country, a little colonial settler, European colonial settler project, the size of New Jersey, in the Middle East, it's attacking everybody, all of its neighbors, killing and maiming, slaughtering, genociding the native Arab population. They direct U.S. foreign policy decision making. And we see that. There's plenty of evidence of this. When you spend billions of dollars bribing U.S. politicians, you're not doing that just for fun. You're not doing it for laughs. You expect something in return, and by God, they get it. They get it. Total subservience in the U.S. So that's where it's at, basically. So yeah, the Dimona thing, this is huge. We'll see what the fallout of this is going to look like. But besides that, the Straits of Hormuz debacle. And, first of all, I want to say, Donald Trump is such a clown. He'll get up there. It's like you're watching Dean Martin's celebrity roast. It's just that Don Rickles was a hell of a lot more funny than Donald Trump. But he gets up there slobbering and doing these ad hoc sort of monologues. It's pathetic. But he's talking about, we're winning, we've wiped them out, we're winning, we've won, we're winning, we've won. We've wiped them out. They have nothing left. So if they have nothing left, how come they just fired their 67th missile barrage at the Israelis and the US bases? If you have nothing left, how is that possible? How can you fire your 67th missile barrage? Now you're targeting Diego Garcia, which was meant to be out of range, but it's not. I mean, that doesn't make any sense either. So this stuff's not adding up with the Don. It's just not adding up. He says, we're going to close the straits, and we have the most powerful military in the world. I've got Pete Hegseth here. Pete Hegseth with his cravat and or whatever, his hanky red, white, and blue sort of silly suit that he wears. I mean, this guy should be in a theme park. I can see Pete Hegseth at the greeting at some casino somewhere, so like the MAGA casino in Las Vegas. Pete Hegseth could be the greeter with his greasy hair and his stupid-looking suits. He'll be there at the door, meeting and greeting, working for Mary Madelson. I think this would be a good career move. But anyway, I digress. The administration's digressing. So why can't the U.S. just take the Straits of Hormuz? Just like it's going to take Cuba, and we're going to take Greenland, we're going to take this, take that. The president loves taking stuff. Why can't they just take the Straits of Hormuz? Why is Donald Trump having to beg Europeans to come and help him, bail him out of the fact that himself and Netanyahu have destroyed the global energy markets? There's a hyperinflationary wave coming now to the United States where we're at. We're starting to see in some parts of Southern California, $8 a gallon for gas. This is insane. It's moving up quick. Oil has surpassed $120 a barrel this weekend, and there's no sign that it's going to stop. So Trump needs the Europeans to come, our NATO allies. I don't understand why they don't help us out. We didn't need to help in Ukraine, he said. Like it's a European problem. I mean, the low IQ takes by Trump are, I'm not even going to say embarrassing, because we're way past that point. The U.S. started the Ukraine conflict. Every fool knows that. Everybody with a room temperature IQ knows that, okay? Obama launched a coup in Kiev in 2014 in the Maidan. This is historically fact. It's proven. It was a U.S. operation to ignite a civil war, which then Donald Trump accelerated in his first term. Maybe Trump forgot. He was busy during his first term. He might have missed out. The fact that he sent lethal aid to Ukraine and really just accelerated that war. And the Trump administration basically intentionally sandbagged the Minsk peace process. That was mandated by the United Nations unanimous Security Council decision 2202. How often do they agree on something? And the U.S. sandbagged it, as did the French and the Germans, in order to get the war going. And the U.S. kept pumping money and weapons and military trainers in, and the rest is history. So the fact that he forgot all that, or pretending it didn't happen, he himself. So the U.S. started the war in Ukraine, and they're pumping in hundreds of billions of dollars, which everybody knows, and Trump's just there like, it's not our war, It's not our fault. We have nothing to do with it. I mean, the U.S. dragged the Europeans into the Ukraine war. And they happily obliged because you have some seriously messed up, compromised, and completely, I don't know, delusional, ideological, corrupt. I mean, that's Europe. Just look at the caliber of diplomats in Brussels and NATO. So now he's saying, pretending like that never happened. I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke, and intelligent people, most of whom are probably in China, even India, are waking up to this now. The entire global South, half of America are getting it now, and probably half of Europeans, maybe more, realizing that our political leaders in the West are not fit to lead anything. Okay, they're not fit to run a country or a superpower like the United States, much less, run a fake online university. I mean, it's a joke. The results of which we're witnessing now. Now you can see this is the results of having incompetent, corrupt, self-preening, just political leadership that really don't really know anything about anything and believe they have such unrivaled power they can do what they want with that power. And no one's going to stop them, including starting World War III, which the US and Israel are currently doing right now. They really believe that they are the rightful rulers of this planetary fiefdom just because they got in the last election. It's kind of a joke if you think about it, but that's kind of where we're at. And so anyway, Straits of Hormuz, 20% of the world's oil and gas comes out of that from the Persian Gulf. That's now effectively closed. But it's funny, the Iranians are letting ships through destined to China, and oil paid in Chinese yuan. That's interesting. So actually the straits aren't closed. They're only closed for some people. But you didn't hear that from the White House, did you? No, you didn't hear that from Marco Rubio. No, you didn't hear that from the brain trust there. The gaggle of grifters that have surrounded themselves around the Trump administration, or have superglued themselves, like Sebastian Gorka, the Hungarian-British operative who somehow landed a place in the Trump cabinet. Not that it's a high bar in terms of intellectual capacity or actual abilities. It's a pretty low bar. You just have had to have a show on Fox, a podcast, or had a radio show that nobody listened to, like Seb Gorka. Yeah, that was the qualifications. I've seen him on TV. Yeah, he's on Fox a lot. Yes, Mr. President, he's on Fox a lot. Oh, that's great. He'll be great. He'll be great. He'll be wonderful. So anyway, that's what's happening. The straits, Trump's saying we're going to take the straits. They're deploying Marines. Thousands of Marines and more U.S. naval assets are moving into the region now. It looks like they're preparing for a ground invasion. I wouldn't discount that possibility. I mean, they're really doubling down, going for broke on this. So I personally think that's possible. It's not advisable, but it's possible. And if they do, you better believe that the U.S., the craven kind of administration and our absolutely feckless and corrupt media will use any dead soldiers, U.S. soldiers, as fodder to even further escalate the war. Because this is the mentality. Rather than cut your losses, these people are all about doubling down. They're all about doubling down. And what it's going to take is a mutiny from within the ranks of the U.S. military. That has to happen. And they'll start at the Joint Chiefs level, right down through the ranks of various generals, colonels, lieutenant colonels, captains, right down to the rank and file. It has to happen because it's unconstitutional, it's illegal, and there will be a war crimes trial. And everybody involved, just as the Nazi Germans were put on trial at Nuremberg, everybody involved is guilty and saying, oh, I was just following orders. Mr. President, I was just following what Mr. President said. Well, if what Mr. President is doing is undermining or avoiding completely any constitutional due process on any of these important issues, then your excuse is no good. Because as a soldier, you swore to defend and protect the U.S. Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And if the president's waging an illegal, undeclared war of aggression, that's, yeah, and actively denigrating the U.S. Constitution, which Donald Trump has made fun of the U.S. Constitution. And he's made fun of people that adhere to it. He's made that comment about Thomas Massey and his critics. I don't know if he used the term the stupid Constitution, something similar to that. I have to dig up the Fox clip. But so, you know, if you're a soldier and you're swearing an oath to protect and defend the U.S. Constitution, you're not swearing an oath to protect and defend the president, okay? Because we don't live in a monarchy. We live in a constitutional republic. That's the difference. So that means that it's possible that the president and the self-styled Secretary of War are enemies of the U.S. Constitution. They would be domestic enemies, if that is indeed the case. And I have my opinion about that. I'm sure you can guess what that is. But ultimately, that's an issue for the courts to decide, or for a tribunal to decide if there's a country left, if there's a United States left. Because everything this president's doing is driving division within the U.S. and then just destroying U.S. authority, credibility, and trust internationally. And driving the U.S. into the crosshairs of a world war. So the question is, will we have courts to adjudicate these things that we're talking about here? Or is that just going to all get buried under an ash, a layer of nuclear ash? Who knows? Who knows? But the whole point of having checks and balances and having a due process is to avoid all that. It's to avoid those wars, especially if we have learned those lessons within the last generation, which I believe that we have. I mean, wouldn't it be easier just to take the legal and practical route? I mean, that would be within the interests of the country, in this case, the United States. That would make sense, wouldn't it? But if you're not in control, if you've allowed a foreign entity to inject billions of dollars into your political system, to bribe all of your politicians, to handpick the cabinet of the president, and to buy the president's undying loyalty to that foreign entity, well, you have a problem. You got a problem. You're going to get some very unsavory things happening, and that's exactly what we're witnessing right now. So I don't really know more that we can say about this other than there's a couple more stories I thought I'd mention. I'll tell you what, I'll mention those. We'll take a quick break here. We're going to swap over onto our stream to our intermission, and I'll be back in just a few minutes with more. Got a couple other stories. We'll call this Overdrive. We'll be back in a few minutes. I'm Patrick Henningsen, your host. This is the Sunday Wire, broadcasting live at 21st Century Wire and also at alternatecurrentradio.com. Stay with us. We'll be back.
ceiling, serpent calls. Buildings burn, masking riot shots. It's TV terror, watch the will of God. Hey, here we are. Heaven come down. Here we are. Heaven come down. The culture cult's consuming all our lives. Rejuvenate, resist the pulling dark. False flags and endless wars. Mass-born psychosis waged. Forced medical tyranny. The complications we'll soon see. Hey, here we are. Heaven come down. Here we are. Heaven come down. Heaven come down. Your Holy Spirit lives in the light. All made new again. Your Holy Spirit lives in the light. All made new again. Your Holy Spirit lives in the light. All made new again. Your Holy Spirit lives in the light. All made new again. Hey,
Welcome back.
heaven come down. Here we are, yeah, here we are. Heaven come down. Whatever happened to the world we lost? Regenerate as generations fall. Hey, heaven come down. Heaven come down. Here we are, yeah, here we are. Heaven come down.
Nobody here wants your war. We see through it all and we know the score. You saw yourself off just like before, chasing the ghost of something more. More money, more death, more greed makes the children bleed. More oil, more land to feed. An endless need. It's an endless need. An endless need. It's an endless need. Nobody here wants your war. Thousands will die, maybe many more. The ghosts will find you knocking on your door. Nobody here wants your war. More money, more death, more greed makes the children bleed. More oil, more land to feed. It's an endless need. Endless need. It's an endless need. Nobody here wants your war. Schoolhouse is burning, the tickers run. Who were they to you? Nothing more. But they were somebody's daughter and somebody's son. More money, more death, more greed makes the children bleed. More oil, more land to feed, and endless need. More money, more death, more greed makes the children bleed. More oil, more land to feed, and endless need. It's an endless need.
And gentlemen, welcome back to the Sunday Wire. I'm your host, Patrick Henningsen. We are streaming out live on the Alternate Current Radio Network, also at 21stcenturywire.com. This is episode 587 of this weekly omnibus news analysis radio and TV program. We're also streaming out live on X, Rumble, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, BitChute, other platforms if I've left any of them out. Thank you for joining us. Big ups to everybody in the chat. We've got a lot, as usual, a lot of activity. I think, I don't know how many comments we had last week, but we had well over 2,500 comments, good engagement, over 3,000 on the live stream. I think we've got similar numbers this week, so that's looking good. But we appreciate your engagement, also your generosity during our winter fundraising drive, which was a massive success. We hit our bonus target last week, which is unbelievable. And because of that, we're able to action straight away some really important infrastructure and also personnel decisions, and we've managed to secure some very valuable contributors to this network and to our media platform. So that's all because of you guys and the help you've given. So thank you very much. You guys are amazing. You really made it happen for us this year. So many of you, we've read the names out on the live stream the last couple of weeks, and your generosity is amazing. Look, if you missed out on that winter fundraising drive, we'll just pop down to the description on this video. You'll see there's a link, or go to 21stcenturywire.com, support, donate. It's that gold button, upper left-hand corner of our webpage, on our homepage. But you can donate. But listen, I know a lot of you love this show, and a lot of you love what we do, but you haven't subscribed to 21wire.tv. It's very inexpensive, but a little bit goes a long way. It's just over $5 a month, but with that, huge benefits for us. So there's a lot of you guys out there, and this is a very inexpensive way to make a massive difference. If let's say we had 20 or 30 of you subscribe this week, this would just be a huge boost to our operating budget each month. So again, consider subscribing, becoming a member at 21wire.tv. We'll also be producing more premium content, but if anything, it's just a way to show your support on a regular basis, and it means a lot to us. So there's options up there for that as well. So I said when we come back, and again, we don't have our teammates with us for logistical and personnel reasons, also health reasons as well. We've all got our challenges, but we're going to overcome them, and our teammates will be back. Maybe we'll have a surprise for you guys next week. Maybe we will have a surprise for you guys, actually. Actually, this sort of format that we're doing here, if you just arriving on the live stream, normally we're studio-based, and our teammates also at ACR, Hesher, Ruckus, Basil, Freddie, they also have their home studios, and normally we're sort of doing that kind of remote production, and that couldn't happen this week for different reasons. So I decided we're here in northern Arizona. We're about 6,500 feet above sea level. The air is thin but beautiful, and we're walking through one of the national forests here, not far from Flagstaff, and not far actually from the Grand Canyon as the crow flies. But we decided to do something a little bit different, and to be out here, just maybe a different conversation, but also just to give you guys a bit of scenery. It's absolutely stunning up here, one of the most underrated locations in the country, in the U.S. Great people, great place, and great, great weather today. Of course, it could snow next week. That's just how things roll up here. But there's a couple more stories, crazy stories that we wanted to cover. Obviously, we've gone through a lot of the Iran material here, this sort of insane criminal cabal that has become the Trump administration. The possibility that Tulsi Gabbard might fold under public pressure and resign this week, if that hasn't already happened. After Joe Kent resigned as counterterrorism chief, I think Tulsi is definitely feeling the pressure. Is she going to do the right thing, or is she going to be fully absorbed into the war machine? I think she already has been absorbed into the war machine, but there's still an escape hatch. And whether she wants to take that or not, and there's no guarantee we'll ever trust her again. She has absolutely, I think, stabbed all of her popular support in the back after helping to elevate her, donate to her campaigns when she was running for president, Congress, etc. She's basically stabbed everybody in the back and shown that thus far she has no principles. She didn't believe a damn thing that she said. She ran adverts basically saying Donald Trump is trying to start a war with Iran and it needs to be stopped. And we need to invoke the U.S. Constitution, blah, blah, blah. Literally, there's ads on social media from like 2016 or maybe 2020. I can't remember which year it was, but I mean, she was banging on about, we need to stop funding the radical jihadists and arming them in Syria. And then literally, she just says nothing when the head of Al-Qaeda is waltzing around the Oval Office with Trump. We're talking about al-Jilani, the Al-Qaeda head, who appointed himself president of Syria with the full endorsement of the Trump administration. Tulsi herself tabled legislation against funding and arming terrorists in Syria, trying to stop the U.S. government from doing that. And their main guy, this bloodthirsty head chopper, Tulsi just kept her little mouth shut as Jolani was doing selfies with Trump in the White House. I mean, all the boys and brothers and sisters in uniform. I mean, that's that lost their life fighting the bogus war on terror. I mean, that's kind of a slap in the face, isn't it? But it's par for the course with this this presidency, who knows no bounds. The farce of it all knows no bounds with this president. But an interesting story happened. I'm going to move on to the trail. Took a little diversion, but this story was out of Israel, and this shows you. I'm going to demonstrate to you how corrupt Israel is as a society, as a country. The state of Israel is basically an offshore sort of crime hub. It's basically what it is. And there's a journalist working for the Times of Israel, an Israeli journalist, who published a story this week. I mean, folks, hold on to your hats and make sure you're sitting down. And if you're having milk and cookies right now, be careful you don't choke on your cookies, because I'm going to tell you something that's going to blow your mind. So this Israeli journalist writes for the Times of Israel, and he publishes a story about, well, first they thought an Iranian missile hit one of these Beersheba, one of these settlements in Israel. So he published this story, did his job as a journalist, looked into it, investigated it, found out that, yes, indeed, it was an Iranian missile. I believe it was an Iranian missile. Yes, I think I got the story right. And so he published that, and the Times of Israel basically runs with that, and he gets, a few days later, gets death threats from Israelis, and because of what he published. And you're thinking to yourself, whoa, this is weird. And so it turns out that Israelis are making bets on Polymarket and Kalshi, these political betting sites. This is so corrupt, this industry anyway. And they put these huge bets that Iranian missiles aren't going to hit on that day. I forgot what day of the month. It might have been March 10th. Can't remember which day it was. And they threatened him to say, change your story. Say it was an errant anti-aircraft interceptor that hit this village in Israel, not an Iranian missile. And they said, if you don't, we're gonna kill you. And so intimidation, threats, death threats. And he's decided to stick to his guns, to his credit. And but they wanted him to alter the story because they lost a ton of money on these political betting sites. I mean, these people are criminals. The whole society is corrupt. Imagine you're getting pelted by Iranian missiles every day, and the best thing you can do as an Israeli is to go bet on missiles landing on a US-based website and laying down massive bets. And then when you lose, you then threaten to kill the journalists unless they change the reporting of the facts. I mean, this is a level of corruption that's quite hard to comprehend. And so Polymarket. Now this site should be illegal in the US. And it should be illegal for the reasons about what we're seeing here, but also the level of insider trading. Anyone in the White House or who knows somebody in the White House who knows when the war is going to start can put a massive bet down, take odds, and they did. They can also put bets down on oil prices spiking. I mean, they're doing that in the markets anyway. But they're also betting when Iranian missiles are going to hit or not. And it turns out that Donald Trump Jr., Donnie Jr., Donald Trump's oldest son, I guess, who likes to say, my father, my father, ... my father, ... If there was a one-man show, Don Jr. had a one-man show off Broadway, it would be called My Father, ... But anyway, he is on the advisory board of Polymarket. So this corrupt political betting site that's engaged in high-level insider trading, even probably at White House level, the president's son is on their advisory board. That's pretty messed up. That's, so what's to say if the money involved and if the people in policy or in the cabinet are thinking, well, we'll make a difference whether we start the war on Thursday or wait till Monday or do it Saturday morning, that they might change the plan or change the policy or create an outcome in order to get a windfall of profit on these corrupt betting sites. I mean, this site should not be allowed in the US. It should be illegal. And I don't think anybody in politics should be even remotely involved, or anybody whose family's involved with politics. I mean, that should be first, one of the main, in terms of criminal probes after this, I would definitely put that in the frame, because you can clearly see a number of bets have been placed by people with insider knowledge in the US government. So that's without debate at this point. But this Israeli story just takes the biscuit, folks. This is just another level of corruption. And just when you think they couldn't go any lower, they do. So that's one. And so yeah, Don Jr.'s company is called 1789 Capital. It's meant to be some patriotic year. I mean, these people are unbelievable. Absolute unbelievable. Corrupt as the day is long. And, well, they're just basically raking it in while they can, because isn't that what it's all about? Get what you can before the next administration comes in. That's the cycle. So, my father, says Donnie Jr., my father. Don Jr.'s favorite line when he's on panel discussions is, my father is so unpredictable. That's what's great about my father. Nobody knows what he's going to do. And the enemy doesn't know what he's going to do. And that's his strategic advantage. Yeah, that's working out really well. He himself doesn't know what he's going to do. That's the strategic secret there with Don Jr. Trump doesn't know what he's going to do. That's hilarious. But so Trump's desperate. He's begging NATO. Meanwhile, NATO's troops cut and run out of, where were they? In Iraq. NATO has a deployment in Iraq, probably just to keep some fighting groups fresh. It's not unusual, but they cut and run. They're out of Iraq. So that's a direct result of this disastrous war that the U.S. and the Israelis are trying to drag the rest of the world in. And some of the other, to their credit, some of the other European countries, NATO countries, like, no, we don't want to be involved. You're painting targets on us now, just like the U.S. painted targets on all of the Gulf states. And then they sit there and cry in Washington saying, oh, Iran is indiscriminately attacking its neighbors. No, they're attacking U.S. bases in those Gulf states, U.S. bases that are used to illegally attack Iran. So these people are so dishonest in their spin, and I mean, morals, ethics, forget it, out the window with these people. They're so corrupt. The level of institutional corruption right now is off the charts. But anyway, I find that to be quite hilarious, that the U.S. would be begging the Europeans, who they constantly, the Trump administration, deride, begging them to bail the U.S. out of a war that it started and a mess that it's created as the global economy goes into the toilet. And you know, the big joke about this, it's probably a good place to end it, but the big joke about this all is that when Donald Trump ran for president, his main thing that he used to sell himself as a candidate, that he was different from the rest, was that he was a good businessman. That Trump is somehow, he was like, he had this sort of Warren Buffett gene, sort of sage type. And you know, a lot of this is just gleaned from reality TV impressions that don't have anything to do with reality at all. Trump is clearly, in terms of economics, is illiterate. And some would say he's probably an ignoramus. And I think you can see that with the tariff wars and the fact they constantly want to move the topic whenever one of their vaunted economic policies fails. They want to cut and run and start a war over there or do something completely different. And that's the reality, is Donald Trump, the so-called business candidate, has destroyed the U.S. and the global economy and is totally unrepentant about it. And you have you want to talk about Pravda, Soviet-level propaganda at Breitbart. Breitbart has become a type of Pravda, a Stalin-esque level Pravda for 21st century American so-called conservative politics. It's embarrassing. Everything Trump does is perfect. It's well calculated. It's 5D chess. And just stay with us. Trust the plan. We know it looks bad. We know it looks bad, but and then they'll cherry pick some statistic by some media outlet or something, and then claim that that's proof positive that Trump's tariff wars are a huge success, and etc. It's a joke, honestly. I mean, this stuff can only happen when you have a sufficient amount of Americans that are just really not very bright and totally disinterested in politics, don't care. They might get a little bit upset though when it costs them $100 to fill their tank. And you might get their attention at that point, but maybe not. It's difficult. It's getting tough. It's getting tough. The political economy in America, the fuel that runs on is, at the moment, I would say, cognitive dissonance is the main fuel of the American political economy right now in 2026. Cognitive dissonance. That's what's driving the political economy in America. So make of that what you will. Anyway, that's a good place to end. Thank you for joining us for this Sunday Wire. Again, we're out in the beautiful outdoors here in the wilderness of northern Arizona. We thought we'd road test some of our equipment. Our teammates aren't with us, but we'll be back with them next week for the Sunday Wire, our alternate current radio team. And yeah, a little bit of surprise. You might be surprised next Sunday with what we're going to show you. And again, big thank you to everybody, you guys, for tuning in here. And I'll tell you what, if you like this format, put it in the chat. Tell us what you think about this format, because not that we're going to do this for the Sunday Wire, because it's just better for us to be in studio most weeks or every week. You know, I did this because of the sort of personnel issues that we got, technical issues this week, and try something different. But if you like this format, this kind of walk and talk format, I'm quite happy to add this to our rotation every week during Monday to Friday. And you can watch that on all of our platforms: X, Rumble, YouTube, Facebook Live, BitChute, and also at 21wire.tv. We'll do some probably some exclusive members content like this, but we will put some stuff out publicly to begin with. But if you like this format, give us a thumbs up right now. And if you guys think you want to see this during the week, and you guys are gonna see it when it's queuing up on the live stream on YouTube or whatever, on Rumble, we'll do this. I'm happy to push the button on this. And this would be different locations, obviously. If we're in a city, we're in a city. If we're in Europe, we're in Europe. If we're in, the Middle East, we're in the Middle East. If we're whatever, if we're in South America, we're in South America. But the point is, we'll bring this to you wherever we are in this exact format. So, yeah, if you think that's cool, you want to see more of that, let us know. And if the answer is yes, then we'll start straight away. We'll start this Monday or Tuesday. So I'm quite happy to do that, but I want to do a temperature check with our audience to see if you want to see more like this. I'm not going to be dressed like this all the time. Probably going to be dressed sometimes more formal if I'm in a city, but or wherever we're going to be sort of hanging out and talking to you guys here. But it's a different type of a program. Yeah, a little more stream of consciousness, a little more fluid than the stuff we do at Sunday Wire and at other programs that we're on, like UK Column News, great news program in the UK. It's more structured and studio based. But anyway, I'm quite happy to give this a go. So if you guys want to do it, we'll do it. Simple as that. So let me just, it looks like overall positive reactions, positive engagement. So yeah, I guess we're probably going to hit the button on this. So yeah, this has worked out pretty well. Anyways, a few things to iron out. I would love to be able to travel with a monitor here so I can interact with the chat on the live stream. I think that's doable as well. And also with the lighting rig, it's obviously easier, mountain biker. So obviously easier if I have an assistant, but I can't do the live stream myself, and then probably be able to chime in with our teammates as well. So there's options here. So also lighting for sort of dusk. If we're in Europe, the show goes out around 6 p.m. In the U.S., it's at the moment we're at 9 a.m. Pacific here, but 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Different times of day. But yeah, we can do that. We can work on a mobile kit. But anyway, we're just absolutely privileged to be in such a beautiful place, and we're also privileged to have such an awesome audience that we have, like you at the Sunday Wire. So you guys are amazing. We wouldn't be doing this without you. We can't do it without you. So again, if you want to support us, by all means, we need it now more than ever. Donate or subscribe and become a member at 21wire.tv. There's a link on our website, upper left-hand gold button. Also in the show description, you'll see a hyperlink there as well. I'm Patrick Henningsen, your host. Thank you for joining us for episode 587 of the Sunday Wire. I will see you guys next week. Different location, and maybe we'll have some surprises for you. It looks like it could be fun. We'll leave it there. But anyway, take care. All the best. See you guys soon. And check out 21stcenturywire.com every day. Freddie Ponton and some of our other writers are publishing some amazing investigative work, analytical work. I really think that we're doing some really important work there. So go to our website Monday to Friday. You will find reports there. You will find intelligence briefs there every day. So that's what we're doing for you. That's available for free. That's for everybody. That's what your support allows us to do. So that's all we've got time for today. All the best, you guys. See you next time.
Han venido a acompañar esta tarde y no podría ser la excepción. El partido Fuerza, 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 se vive hoy, se vive esta manifestación desde el corazón y las entrañas de un pueblo. Por eso hoy queremos recibir a ese líder, a ese caballero.
Are the revolution that you've been waiting for? You are the revolution that you've been waiting for. You are the revolution that you've been waiting for.
You are the revolution.
You are the revolution. You are the revolution. You are the revolution that you've been waiting for. You are the revolution. You are the revolution. You are the revolution that you've been waiting for.
You are the revolution. Revolution.
When you're tired of being just a commodity, you are the revolution. And when gaslit into another war, stand strong because you are the revolution.
You are the revolution.
You are the revolution. You are the revolution. You are the revolution that you've been waiting for. You are the revolution. You are the revolution. You are the revolution.
They conspire against you, accuse you of terrorism, to steal your sovereignty. Hold fast, watch it collapse. But just stop. I know that we still have the power. You are the revolution. They want to centralize, monopolize, control your thoughts. Breathe, go deep,
Go outside, put seeds in the ground. You are not alone. You are not alone. You are the revolution that you've been waiting for. You are the revolution that you've been waiting for. Alone. You are the revolution that you've been waiting for.
You are the revolution.
You are not alone. That you've been waiting for.
Oh, hi. Is this a trend to the revolution?
Why, yes, my lady. And you're right on time.
For in the final analysis, we all inhabit this small planet, and we are all mortal.
Lately I've been watching the world gone mad. Brothers and sisters full to take a stand, to hate their fellow man and upper man. Divide and conquer is the acronym plan. Distract the people, control the story. Don't believe your lying eyes, you know me. Stay in power, no matter what. Play with the doomsday clock. Turn a blind eye and gather your trust. Pushing us to turn to good. Corruption and lies. Truth is the crime, will turn to good. Well-designed misery to keep you on edge, make you believe anything anyone says. Keep it left or right, not top to bottom. Accuse the victim, can't you see we got 'em? Stay in power, no matter what. Playing with the doomsday clock. Turn a blind eye and gather your trust. Pushing us to turn to good. We've captured rights. Feudals like time will turn to dust. To dust. Industrialized brutality, commercialized cruelty. People as commodity, cheer on war atrocity. No accountability.